there, you are tuning in to the 84th episode of the Audible Weed Walk. This is Nina welcoming you. How is the weather where you are listening this podcast from? A friend in Nagaland said they usually experience monsoon rains from June, but this year, along with the pre-monsoon, it has been raining since May. It will continue till September if this turned out to be a normal year. In another part of the country, in Goa too, monsoon has arrived. So, it will be rain and more rain until September. What is the weather where you're listening from? If you are like me in Tamil Nadu, I am reading about the arrival of monsoon and thinking, funny isn't it? September, the rain will stop in other places. But for us, it is in a normal year, that's where we would get our monsoon. From start around September and it will continue through November till mid-December. So when we say whether or what green to eat during this season, we have to be mindful as are we in the monsoon yet or not? This calls for a short geography 101. Remember, as kids in the 5th standard or so, we learned the basics of monsoon? It is actually quite complicated, but the basics is quite straightforward. The southwestern monsoon enters India through southwest near Kerala first and then all along the western border. The western Ghats provide resistance. The cloud rises to cross the western Ghats and in the process sheds a lot of rain. By the way, Western Ghat is a younger and higher mountain than Eastern Ghats and this play quite a bit of role in the monsoon. So Kerala first gets the rain. Not uniformly all over Kerala though. The northern Kerala receives more rain via the southwestern monsoon as the rain cloud soon travels to reach the low pressure areas across the subcontinent. If you draw a line of the wind path southwest to northeast where the rain travels, you will find the moisture-laden wind entering Kerala will eventually reach Tamil Nadu to continue its movement all along the path. As the cloud to continue to move all along the path, the cloud has to shed moisture to become lighter, unless of course it is aided by strong cyclonic winds or other winds. So typically, when the wind reaches Tamil Nadu, especially the northern coastal belt, there is not much moisture left from the southwestern monsoon wind. Still, because of the remaining southwest monsoon and some localized factor, we get some rain, but nothing like the proper rainy season. Our rainy season in a normal year comes much later. Why and how? The southwestern monsoon wind, with or without enough moisture, will fly all the way to the Himalayas. In doing so, it will gain some moisture while rushing over the Bay of Bengal, bringing much rain to the eastern part of India and beyond. Once it reaches the Himalayas, it tries to climb it and in the process drops all the moisture in the foothills, creating some very high rainfall places like in the northeastern states. Then in a few months, when the wind pattern changes due to low pressure in the subcontinent, the dry wind that has shed all the moisture but could not cross Himalayas will turn back as the northeast wind this time. It mostly blows over the land and hence remains dry. But then some of it crosses across the Bay of Bengal again and gathers a lot of moisture. It easily crosses the eastern Ghats and brings much rain to the Tamil Nadu. It blows all the way back to Kerala and brings a second bout of monsoon there, and this time more to the southern part. So Kerala has 2 rainy seasons, typically June to August, and then again October to December for about 120 to 140 days. Sometimes it becomes one long continuous rainy season. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, where it is not experiencing unusual amount of rain like in 2015 or 2021, where the rain prolonged, typically it receives about 59 days of rain between October and December. These states are not that far away, but imagine what a lot of difference there is. I got curious and wanted to find out how many days must it rain in Cherrapunji, which records one of the highest rainfall in the world, and that credit now goes to another place called Monsoon, also in Meghalaya. By the way, the name of the state itself is Meghalaya, which means the abode of the cloud. I found that while Kerala has 120 to 140 days of rain, Meghalaya has more than 260 days of rain, and Nagaland about 200 days. In Nagaland and Meghalaya, the temperature remains low because of their location, and in the past, in Kerala too, it was cloudy weather during the rains, which remain cool through the rainy season. But it is changing now. It is changing to hot and humid over the last 50 years, and more rapidly so in the recent years. So when you read an article about seasonal green, especially wild weedy greens, be careful. What is the context? What is the reference weather, and has it changed? The erratic weather patterns that we have seen in the recent years will continue. In 2018, Kerala got the rain it gets over several months, over just 3 to 4 days. The average temperature in Kerala has increased much more than it used to be in the past. In Tamil Nadu, the cyclonic wind and year of unusual rains have increased. Prediction says that it will continue to be like this at least for another 30 years before the weather itself finds its new normal. A press release by the Columbia Climate School that reports on international collaborative research looking at India's climate patterns using 30 different climate models says, for every degree Celsius of warming, monsoon rainfall will likely to increase by 5%. Imagine that. If that happens, it will bring increasing uncertainty to agriculture. Here is the reason why we need to hone our skills, bring our attention, and learn objectively about the wild weedy greens. Leaning back to the tradition, old recipes, time-tested ancestral wisdom are good, but we need to have reasoned clarity behind those traditions so that we do not blindly follow them and shift or to adjust to the new reality to reclaim our future. Lofty words for a bunch of weeds, you might think, but it is true. I have spoken in details about why wild weedy greens are not encouraged for eating during the rains in Bengal and in long unusual rainy season anywhere. Please check my podcast number 21, 24 and 27. You will find them in the YouTube channel Audible Weed Walk. But then, what if the place mostly experiences rain? Like in Kerala, like in Northeast India. This time, I was reading about Kerala's Karkidakam. It is the month of July and August. It's a peak rain. In Karkidakam, not unlike the month of Karthik in other Indian calendars, it is the time for rejuvenation, getting rid of the toxins that the body may have accumulated through good massage, with wild weedy greens aiding the therapy, and ignite fire of appetite and digestion while cleansing, detoxing, and all the good things. I am quoting here what I found is traditionally it seems it is time to eat easily digestible food. Green leaves are best avoided as there would be viruses or microbial presence which could affect the digestive system. In one account, I read that description of Karkidakam as Malayalam month of rain and poverty, while those who could afford to could remain indoors and avail of the massage and rejuvenating food, the majority had to go out for work where there were little available. For those who could afford, since the weather remained cool in the past, like we eat 14 greens in Bengal at the end of the rainy season, a nourishing medicinal potion were traditionally made not with the wild weedy greens only, but what is healthy and medicinal and boost immunity in the season. Pathila thoran, which is a kind of stir fry of 10 seasonal greens, again not all weedy, and also Karkidakam kanji, which is made with a GI tagged Nyavara rice and has as many as 24 herbs and includes several wild ones, coconut milk, and some dry ingredients also, like fenugreek, like dry ginger powder, etc. Now, this has been much commercialized and you can find ready-made packs. Ayurveds, though, recommend that it should be part of the healthy Ritucharya or the seasonal practice, which is incorporated in daily practices or Dinacharya. Kerala has a set of 10 flowering wild plants they call Dashapushpi, and they are highly regarded as medicinal. In several old recipes of the kanji, it required to use the whole plant of Dashapushpi after it has flowered with the onset of the rain. The pouches that you get now apparently do not have them because they have to be prepared and sent to the stores before the rain. There is an amazing wisdom and astuteness in the traditional practices if you really dig into the reason. This tradition came into being from weather where the rainy season were not extreme and it was cool. We are now veering away from it and hence perhaps need to adjust our practices also. How do the northeastern states deal with the rains? And what do they eat, since wild weedy greens are a big part of their regular diet? I read and confirmed by asking few friends in Nagaland. During the rains, they eat more pulses, dry food, and what they can store while they are in season, and more cultivated food that includes the greens also, but not the wild greens. Wild uncultivated greens are avoided in the peak of monsoon. Reason? Simple. It is difficult to collect them as rain makes the terrain more slippery and dangerous. Plus, the taste of the green changes during the rain. They are not as palatable as immediately after. Some still can be taken, but then there are several which clearly should be avoided. One interesting point, Pathila thoran in Kerala uses the leaves of a certain variety of taro or colocasia. In Nagaland, they have several varieties of colocasia, and most of them they clearly avoid in the rain. So, so there are, regional wisdom. So if taro can be used in one place, it's not the same variety of taro available elsewhere. And so when you're reading the news article about what to be eaten in the rain, during the rains, and if you're sitting in, say, Maharashtra, you shouldn't go out and grab that, because what you get around you may or may not be the edible, the best thing to eat. So there you go. When you read, you need to, when you read an article, what to eat in the rain, keep your antennas alert. And as to which area they are referring to, even if they are referring to a particular state, which part of the state. In general, a thumb rule remains: avoid eating wild uncultivated green during the rains. If the rain is prolonged, then wait until the rain stops. If the rain is intermittent, like the pre-monsoon in Tamil Nadu, then eat what grows seasonally. If due to climate change or for whatever reason, the areas which experience intermittent rains now are experiencing long, prolonged rains, switch to your habit. Follow the habits of the areas where they already experience prolonged rain. Wait for the rains to stop, like the people in Assam and Bengal and Nagaland, where they have that kind of weather. During the peak rains, eat more gourds, veggies, pulses, bitters. When the rain stops, grab the nutritious new sprouts of the wild weedy green and enjoy. With that thought, I end here. Don't forget to catch up on the podcast number 21, 24 and 27 to understand and find out which greens and wild weedies you can eat in the rain and why to avoid the others. I will see you next week. Stay well and stay safe.